So we're going to have a look in a second at a forward fold, but to prepare us for that, I want to look at a seated forward fold, just to bring one of the principles in that we're then going to transfer to when we're doing it stood up. So if you just come down onto your mat, what we're going to do is just a normal seated forward fold here. But what I want you to focus on, and this is what we're going to take into the standing practice, what I want you to focus on is bringing your chest and your shoulders down towards your feet. So not bringing your chest and your head down towards your legs. So what we're going to do is, just to practice this, I'll just show you what we're going to do first. We're going to raise the arms up like we normally do. But then as we come forward, what I want you to start doing is stretching with your hands. So from the moment you get here, start to stretch. You see how my shoulders and my back are extending. So I'm stretching, I'm keeping stretching all the way down. Keeping stretching all the way down, still looking up. Yeah, and I'm still stretching down towards my feet. So what I'm not doing is coming up and then going and trying to pull my head down towards my shins or my thighs. So I want the emphasis of what we're doing to move that way rather than that way. And we're going to transfer that over when we stand up as well. So if you just come to like as we would normally do for a seated forward fold, bring your feet together, toes pointing up. Hands alongside your hips. Fingers pointing forward and bring your chest up. So start that process of lengthening and straightening your upper body. And take an inhale, raise your arms up. And then stretch up with your fingers. So you can feel yourself really coming up onto those sit bones. Stretching up the length of your spine. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, hinge forward but reach with your fingers. So keep reaching all the time. All the way down. Keep your head up, looking forward. And keep reaching. Keep reaching. And then just bring your hands down to the ground, wherever that is. And then when you come back up, start to reach again. And reach all the way back up. And then lower down. And relax. So when we come up, if you come up to standing now, so the first thing I want us to think about when we're doing a forward fold is to think about dropping your body weight down towards the ground. So imagine like that your head and your shoulders are really heavy. So as soon as you come past that kind of tipping point of here, your head and your shoulders are pulling you down to the ground. So I'm not making any effort to bring my head into my thigh. I'm just thinking about my head and my shoulders dragging me down towards the ground. Okay, so that's the first thing I want us to do. So if you just come to sort of feet about hip width apart. So I'll take an inhale, raise your arms up. I'm going to do exactly the same as we did. So stretch up with your fingers, straighten your spine. And now as we exhale, bring your arms forward, keep stretching. And stretch all the way. As soon as you come past that point where your back's horizontal to the ground, now keep stretching, but imagine your head and your shoulders are really heavy. And they're pulling your body down towards the ground. As you get your hands down towards the ground, if you can, rest them on the ground and let your shoulders and your head be really heavy. Just like we did when we were doing the seated, I'm looking down at the ground at the moment. So I'm focusing on the ground, not on my legs. And then inhale, come up. So bring your arms up, keep stretching. Keep stretching. And reach up. And then lower back down. So that's the first thing I want us to think about, is stretching all the way down and then thinking about your head and your shoulders being heavy and pulling your head down towards the ground. Second thing I want you to think about is using the breath. We always do like inhale, exhale. And there's a really good reason for that. I've had this described to me before as the taking the inhale makes space for the next movement. So you take an inhale, and then as you exhale, that space that is created is where your breath was. Yeah, so your breath's occupying that big space in your stomach, and as you let it go out, your body can move into that space that the breath's created by breathing in. Okay, so what we're going to do, and if you've been in my classes for any length of time, you may have done this practice before. But what we're going to do is we're going to take an inhale, and then as we exhale, we're coming forward. So you're letting all that air out, and your body's moving into that space in your stomach where your air was. And then what we're going to do then is we're going to take 3 breaths while we're here. And as you breathe in, what will naturally happen, or your body will try to make naturally happen, is as you breathe in, that space fills up again. So naturally your body will go, yeah, like that. But what we're going to try and do is hold the stretch when you breathe in, and then relax when the breath goes out. So each time you hold the position where you've got to as your breath comes in. So you're resisting that natural urge for your body to come up. And then as you breathe out, you relax even further. So what will happen is you'll get to here, then you'll breathe in, hold it, and breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Yeah, and each time you hold the stretch as your breath comes in, you'll feel your hamstrings tighten up, and then as you breathe out, that tension will release and it'll allow you to come forward a little bit further. Okay, so we'll do the first bit first. So we'll do the stretch, let your head become heavy, and we'll hold that and do 3 breaths in and out. So each time you're holding the stretch and then releasing, holding, releasing, holding, releasing. Okay? So back to feet hip width apart. So take an inhale, raise your arms up. And then as you exhale, reach forwards, keep stretching. And as you come past the tipping point of horizontal, start to let your shoulders and your head become heavy. And drag your upper body down towards the ground. So find that place where you're in your nice deep stretch now. And then take an inhale and hold the stretch. Exhale, relax. Feel your hamstrings loosen up as you do that. So take another breath in. Hold that stretch. And then exhale. Relax again, head and shoulders coming down towards the ground. Last time, take an inhale, hold the stretch. And exhale. Chest and shoulders come down again. And then take an inhale, start to raise your arms up, stretching. Stretching, stretching, stretching. And lower down. So did you find that you went further with each exhale? So with each one you should get further and further and further down to the ground. And that's a principle that you can use in most stretches and twists for that matter. If you're doing a twist, so even something simple like when we're at the end of the lesson, we'll do that. You can do exactly the same with your breathing. So I'm twisting more or less as far as I can get round now. And so I'll breathe in and hold the twist. And breathe out. And my shoulders moved that much just on one thing by using that principle of creating space for your body to move into with your breath.
Do you feel like it's like bend your knees a bit if
It is up till now. Okay? It was up till now. What you'll regularly hear me say in a class, if you need to bend your knees so that you can bring your chest in towards your thigh. That's because when people start doing forward folds, when they start doing yoga, it's like a touching my toes thing that people have in their heads. I've got to touch my toes, I've got to touch my toes. So what you see people do is they'll go like this, and they're stretching and they're stretching and they're stretching, and the back's out here, so I encourage people to bend the knees, because when you bend your knees, then your chest comes in, and that heaviness in your upper body thing can start. Yeah, it won't start if you're going yeah, and keeping your legs straight. So that's why I say to people, bend your knees so that you can bring your chest in. Then your upper body will start to sink down towards the ground. What we're going to do on this thing, on the next bit, is to use the front of your thighs to loosen up the back of your thighs. So if you can't get your hands down to the ground when your legs are straight, don't worry about getting your hands down to the ground on this. Just take them down your legs. Yeah. So still keep your chest and your head down, but don't worry about how far down your hands go. Yeah. Because what we're going to use now is that when you've got muscles on either side of a bone, if you tighten up one of them, it sends a message to your body to loosen up the other one, right? So if I'm trying to stretch the hamstring, as we're doing in this case, if I flex the front of my leg, my body thinks, oh crikey, he's really trying to flex that. So to make it able to flex it even more, I'll relax the back. So that's what your body does. It's called reciprocal inhibition. What we're going to use that principle to allow the hamstrings to relax more. So we'll just do this in isolation first, and then we'll apply it into the other things that we've done. So what we're going to do is fold forward, and then when you get to just a comfortable stretching position, we're going to tense the front of your thighs. So I'll tense the front of my thighs up, and then when you let them go, the back of your hamstrings have really relaxed. So when you let go of your thighs, then your hamstrings are like way more relaxed than they were before, because your body's been relaxing them so that you can tense the front of your thighs up. Does that make sense? So just come back, like, without doing any of the other stuff we've done. So that's why you need to keep your legs straight on this one. Yep. So take an inhale, raise your arms up. And exhale, fold forward. Just relax as you would normally in a forward fold. So now, keeping your legs straight, I'm going to clench up the front of your thighs. And then relax them. And your head and your shoulders will sink down. Okay, so take an inhale, come up. And exhale, lower down. So did you get that? Did that happen then? So you tense them up and everything goes tense. Then you're not tensing your hamstrings up at all. You're tensing the front of your thighs. Your body's responding by relaxing your hamstrings so that you can tense your thighs more. And then when you let go of that, you go boom and drop. So we'll put all of those things together now. Okay, so we're going to do the stretch. Upper body heavy, dragging you down towards your upper body dragging you down towards the ground. Then we're going to do the breaths, and then we're going to tense the thighs up and release. Okay? And you can, not doing all three breaths, but you can use that one, so we can use all of this in one forward fold. We just do it in one breath, not three. I'm just using the three to exaggerate the point of the stretch, yeah? So feet hip width, So take an inhale, raise your arms up, stretch up to the ceiling, and then start to bring your arms forward, stretching, stretching, stretching as you exhale, and then let your shoulders and head start to become heavy, dragging your upper body down towards the ground. Okay, so hold your stretch, take an inhale, and exhale, relax down. Hold the stretch, inhale, exhale, relax down. One more, hold the stretch, and exhale, relax down. Now tense up the front of your thighs. And then release them. Relax down even further. And then take an inhale, raise your arms up. And exhale, lower down. And I just had a look round then when everybody was doing that, and people have got their hands on the ground and their arms bent, yeah, not even having to reach, yeah, flat hands on the ground. So when we come to put this together at the end, what I want us to do is do all of that but just one breath. So we'll go inhale, exhale, reach forward, take an inhale, and exhale, tense and relax. Okay, so that's what we'll do when we put it all together. Right, so we're going to look now at a high lunge. And I'm going to give you 4 different points on the high lunge to look at. The first thing that I want us to focus on when we go into a high lunge is making sure you take a deep step back. So as you step, we will do it from a forward fold, but we don't have to now. So what I want you to do is take a really deep step back. Because the first thing I want us to try and focus on is that front thigh, getting your front thigh parallel to the ground. Yeah, so it'll really make your legs ache, but we want to get the top of the thigh parallel to the ground. And you can only do that if you really step back, because if you don't step back, as you lower your knee more and more, what happens is your knee comes over, like right over the front of your thigh, and it'll hurt the top of your knee there. So first thing I want us to do, so come up to the front of your mat. I'm going to take a step back on your right foot and really step back. And if you need to adjust when you get there, you can do. So we're on the ball of your feet, and then sink your hips down so that the top of your thigh is parallel to the ground. So you really need to, really sink them down as much as you can. Yep. Yeah. Okay, so step up. Yeah. That's not a bad point. That isn't it a good point, that it does take you by surprise when you try and stand up. And what we're going to do is we're not going to stand up from a high lunge in this sequence, but quite often in classes we'll go from high lunge and then bring your hands down and step up. And if you're really a long way back, when you go, oh, yeah, that's a decent jump. And even more so if you do it, say for example, we're going to go from a high lunge to a warrior 3, and you've got a really deep lunge. Then when you start to come forward, it really takes some effort to get your body forward. So let's go back on the left foot then. So big stretch back, and then sink your hips down. So you've got your thigh parallel. That's it. And then step back up. Okay, so what you will have been doing almost certainly then is to make it possible for you to lower your knee down, lower your thigh down as much as you can. You'll have probably been bending that back leg. Yeah, so you can get your hip down. So what you're going to do now is try and straighten that back leg whilst you're keeping your hips low. Okay, so you're going to be back in the high lunge. Well, we haven't even done anything with hands yet, have we? So sink that down, but at the same time then, try and straighten your back leg and push your back heel down. So straighten the leg as much as you can and push your back heel down at the same time as you're keeping your thigh low. Okay? So I'll go back on the right foot first. Lovely deep stretch, step back. Let your thigh come down, your hips come down, so your thighs parallel to the ground. Right, now you're going to concentrate on straightening your back leg and pushing through your heel. That's it, bro. And step back up. Back on your left. So sink your hips down. So your thighs parallel. Now straighten your back leg and push through the heel. And step back up. Is this going to be one like, you know, when we do plough, take your legs come over your head, and John always says, don't do it, and be ready to come back and flip people back up if they get stuck. Well, I'm going to have to be ready for when somebody's going, yep, I'm trying, but I'm not getting anywhere. Right, so next thing then is arms and chest. So what might have been happening here is as you've sunk your body down, sunk your hips down, your body might have come a little bit further forward. Yeah, because you're trying, when we're here, if I just come forward a little bit, it eases that tension in that leg there. Now, we don't want to be doing that. We want to be bringing your chest up. So you'll feel, as well as everything else, when you bring your body up right, you'll feel the front of your hip abductor here start to stretch. Because what I want us to do is two things. Bring your hands up, keeping your arms as straight as possible. So you're just going to bring them up like that at the sides of your body and stretch up to the ceiling. And at the same time, think about raising your chest up. So I'm going to bring my arms up. I'm going to stretch up with my fingers, and then I'm going to think about pushing my chest up like that. Okay? Now, don't worry if you can't get your hands up, straight up, because we're putting a lot of pressure on your legs here. So don't worry if your hands end up in front. Yeah, just concentrate on keeping your arms straight and stretching with your fingers. Don't worry about your chest. But if you can get your arms more than about that kind of angle, certainly if you can get them up there, then think about pulling your chest up as well. Okay? So, 4 things then. So, we'll step back on the right foot. So, sink your hips down. Left thigh parallel to the ground. Now, straighten your back leg, push through the heel. Right, now we're going to raise the arms up. So you'll feel the front of your left thigh, keep it straight, your right thigh, and reach up with your fingers, and then lift your chest. And then lower your arms down, and step up. Before we go back on the left, I'm just having a little look round at people. I don't know if you remember the first time you ever came to one of my classes, but I give the same advice to everybody the first times they come, is that there's 2 rules. One is, if something hurts, don't do it. We disregard that on the workshops, okay? However, the second rule, we don't disregard. I always say, and remember to breathe, yeah? And I looked around the room then, and there were about half of you going, like purple in the face with you. Yeah. Keep breathing, please, because yeah. So don't forget to breathe, please. Otherwise, when you stand up, we'll be going dizzy and everything. So we're going back. Yeah. Thankfully, I am, but I prefer not to use it. Yeah. So we'll take a step back on your left foot now. Nice deep step back, and sink your hips down, and straighten your left leg. And then bring your arms up. So raise, stretch up to the ceiling with your fingers and lift your chest. And then lower your arms down and step up. I'm not making fun. Well, no, I am. I'm making fun of you. We're going to say I'm not making fun of you, but I am making. So the last time I looked round and everybody's going, this time I looked round and everybody was going, okay, that's high lunge. Right, should we take a minute, have a little drink, and then we'll move on. Okay, shall we crack on? We're going to do downward facing dog, and we did downward facing dog on the last workshop when we were outside, and we've done this in class quite a bit recently. So I'm not going to spend ages on this. But I just want to remind you of some of the main principles of what we include in a downward facing dog, and remind you about some of the things that you might not be doing that you should be doing. What I want us to do as a starting point is think about the extension of your shoulder joints. And we're not even going to be in downward facing dog for this. Or I'll just show you it first and then we'll do it. We're going to come on to hands and knees and let your chest sink down. So your shoulder joints are just going to relax, and you're going to do that. Yeah, so you're just like resting into your shoulders and then push up through your shoulder joints to extend your shoulders. They're going to relax down and then push up. And as you push up, the more you push up, what you will find is that your biceps turn forward to enable you to keep pushing. So if you just come onto your hands and knees. So you want to be taking your weight over your hands, not taking your weight back on your hips. So taking your weight over your hands and just let your chest sink down into your shoulders. Right, and now we're going to push your hands down into the ground, start to extend your shoulders, and as you really do, your biceps will turn to face forward. Your like elbows come in, and then relax back down. And then push up again. And as you push up, your biceps come forward. And then relax back down. Okay, just sit back onto your heels or come to seated, whichever's most comfortable for you. That's one of the things that we need to focus on when we're doing downward facing dog. That this is a bit slippy. I'll have to do it sideways on because otherwise I'll end up doing an involuntary plank. So at the moment, I'm just resting there. I'm like resting with my shoulders, my chest sunk into my shoulder joints. But what I want to do, like we just did then, was extend your shoulder joints so that your biceps start to come forward. And you've heard me in class say this before. The thing to think about is push the mat away from you. If you push the mat away from you, providing your hands don't slip on your mat and you just go, you push the mat away from you, that process happens automatically. So I'm here, I'm just resting now, I'm thinking I'm going to push the mat that way. And it extends my shoulder joints and my elbows just turn that bit so my biceps are facing up. Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to think about. Second thing we're going to think about is your tailbone, your coccyx. What I want you to think about is when you've pushed your hips up, that you're turning the little bit of tailbone at the bottom of your spine, that you're turning it up like that. So I've got my hips. I think I'm pushing my hips up now, but then I'm going to think about isolating that bone at the bottom of my spine and push it up towards the ceiling. And it might move your hips about that much, but it hurts like hell. Yeah, it really brings a stretch into your back, into the hamstrings and the top of your buttocks by just moving the bottom of your spine just that tiny little bit. Then the other thing I want you to do is like we did in the forward fold, and that's to flex the front of your thighs. So if we just go through, I'll just put all those three things in for you. So just come onto your hands and knees. Curl your toes under, and then straighten your legs and push your hips up. So we'll do the upper body first. So think about when we were on the hands and knees and how it felt to like have your shoulders like sinking into your shoulders and then extending your shoulders, pushing them out away. Right, now keeping that on, keeping pushing away. Move your focus to your tailbone and curl it up towards the ceiling. And then clench the front of the thighs. And then relax your knees and come back down. Yeah? So Lucy's face gave away then the fact that you found that quite painful. Yeah? It's the tiny little things make a massive difference to the stretch you get in your hamstrings and the bottom up part of your buttock. And it also, by pushing the mat away from you, you're developing lots of strength in your triceps. And people, what I've found since I've been teaching yoga, because I go to do lots of weights and go to the gym and stuff, and so people who go to gyms do exercises to build strength into the triceps. What I found since I started teaching yoga is that generally people have really weak triceps because it's not kind of really a muscle that you use on a day-to-day basis. So when we come to doing downward facing dogs and cobras and planks, people really struggle with the strength in the triceps. By pushing your arms away, pushing the mat away from you like that, you're tensing up your triceps and building that extra strength in your triceps. So when we come to do downward facing dog, I'll just give you those three prompts again. So push the mat away, tailbone up, flex your thighs. Okay, but like I said, we've done that before and we've done it in class, so I'm not going to bang on about that because I do want to bang on about the next part of this sequence. Now, what we're going to do, and this is neatly leading on to the triceps, is going from a downward facing dog to a plank and then lowering your body down to the ground. Okay, so we're going to go from a downward facing dog, come forward to plank, and then lower your chest down to the ground. Now, what I want us to do, just to warm up, to get the feeling of what I want us to do with your triceps and the back of your shoulders, is just do just a few. If you come onto your hands and knees, and then take your knees back. So you've take your knees back so that your arms are vertical. So you're not like leaning right back like that. So your arms are vertical, and try and keep your back as straight as you can. And we're just going to do a press up, keeping your elbows into your side. So lower your chest down, and then push back up. Yep. Okay, just come back up again. So that movement of lowering and pushing up with your elbows close into your side is what we're looking for on this lower. Now, What we often do when we go from a downward facing dog to a plank is readjust the position of your hands and feet. Yeah, so what we'll go from downward facing dog, come forward to plank, and then just like move your feet back a little bit. And the reason we do that is if you just look at my arms, the sort of angle that my arm has got to the ground here. So when I come forward to plank, so I come forward to plank, and then I move back, and that angle of my arm goes from that to that, and it means it's easier, and that's why people do it. What I want you to do today, to try to do, is not move your feet so that your arm stays like that. So when we come forward to plank, you're going to keep your arms vertical, okay? So what you're not doing is taking the pressure off your arms and shoulders by moving back a little bit. Yeah, when you move back like that, you're taking some of the weight on your legs and your bum. Not the weight, you're taking some of the pressure on your legs and bum and taking it off your arms and your triceps. And I want you to try and not do that in this. What this is also going to need you to do, because again, when you take your weight back, you can relax your core. So when I go from here to here, just that little movement means my stomach and the sides of my body and the bottom of my back can go. Yeah. When you've got your weight forward, you have to engage the muscles in your core. And you hear people say this all the time, engage your core, engage your core. And nobody ever really explains to you what engaging your core is. As if like everybody just knows what engaging your core is. There's two things that I think can help you with engaging your core. The first one is, particularly when you're in plank, the first one is to try and draw your stomach in towards your spine. So you're pulling your stomach in. And then the other thing is, if you imagine you're coughing or sneezing, so you go, that is engaging your core. So if you just think about when you cough, yeah, your stomach and the sides of your body and the bottom of your back tense up.
Most people in the room, if we think about coughing, we'll all go.
Oh, right, okay. All right, so maybe that was a bad example. But think about tightening up your stomach and the sides of your body and the bottom of your back. Okay? So when we come forward, we're going to go from downward facing dog. We're not going to worry about the points in the different teaching points in downward facing dog. We're just going to go from downward facing dog, then come forward to plank. What I want you to try and do is not move your feet. So you just check that your arms are vertical. So you're not taking any weight back onto your legs. And then tense your stomach and the sides of your body and the bottom of your back. Okay? And that'll help you keep that position, which is what we're looking for. All right? So, go onto your hands and knees. And then straighten your legs and push up to downward facing dog. Right, don't cheat now by taking your feet back in advance. As if you'd do something like that. So now we're going to bring the chest forward. Keep your hands and your legs where they are, so your chest's coming right over the top of your thighs. Right over the top of your thighs. Right over the top of your hands. And then tense your stomach and your back and the sides of your body. And then come back to downward facing dog. And lower your knees down. Right, the last thing I want you to think about doing, and this is in preparation for the lower of your body, lowering your body down, is to make sure that your biceps are turned forward and your elbows are tight into the sides of your body. When you lower from plank down to the ground, you should feel your elbows brush the sides of your body as you come down. Okay, so we'll do all that again, and this time when you come forward, turn your biceps forward, hug your elbows in, and then we'll lower down. Okay, so we'll start downward facing dog and push up. So bring your chest forward, don't move your legs, engage your core, turn your biceps forward and hug your elbows into the sides of your body, and then slowly lower your chest down. Okay. Yeah. Right. Come back up again. So it is hard work, and as I say, what I've found is that lots of people don't have the strength in the triceps to enable them to do that. So, but like lots of things that we do in yoga, you can do it. You can lower like with your elbows out and go like that, and you can keep doing that, for as long as you do yoga. But it'll never build the strength up in your triceps and the back of your shoulders. So don't, if it's really difficult, and obviously I don't want you to fall flat on your face. Glasses off moment. We were talking about that the other day. Sorry, some of you heard this story when we used to do the classes at Woodsets. And can you remember Dave Case, who was there? And whenever we did balances, he used to take his glasses off. And I said, Dave, what are you doing taking your glasses off? He said, so when I fall flat on my face, I don't smash my glasses. So we used to, just in that one class, we used to have it. It would be like, Dave, this is a glasses off moment. And he'd just put them down at the side of it. So maybe if you think you're going to put glasses, it might be a glasses off moment when you're going down. Just when we do this practically every single class, we'll do this movement from plank down to the ground. Remember when we're doing it, I should be keeping my elbows in here. Even if you can't, I should be trying to keep them in. And over time, that strength will build up in your triceps and you'll find that you can do it. Okay? So we're going to go now from lowering down to the ground to pushing back up to Cobra. Now, what's immediately going to become apparent to you here when you try to do this is that your chest is much further forward than it normally is because you've kept your chest relative to your hands in the right place. Okay, so we've gone from plank and lowered down to the ground there, and now I've got to push back up to Cobra. But if I'd have moved my feet when I'd gone to plank and lower back down, my hands are right underneath my chest here, so it's quite easy to push up there. But now what you're going to find is that your hands are there, like alongside, the sides of your chest. So when you start to push up now, you're going to have to, you're really going to have to put some effort in. And what I'm going to ask you to do is think about, as you bring your chest up, to bring it up like that. Yeah, so you bring your chest up in like a curve. So we're going to come here and you're going to push up like in a sort of, you're going like that, rather than pushing straight up. Okay, so what we're going to do is go from plank and lower down, keeping your arms in close, and then not moving your arms and legs again, thinking about pushing up with that kind of curve. Now, I'm going to give you two options here, and the two options are slightly different in terms of what you do with your arms. One is to go to Cobra, So I've lowered down and I'm just going to push up to Cobra. When you're in Cobra, you keep your elbows bent. Still arms tucked into your sides, keep your elbows bent. The other option when you push up is upward facing dog. In upward facing dog, your insteps are still on the ground, but your thighs come up off the ground like about that much. So your hips stay low, but your thighs come up off the ground. And when you push up to straight arms. Okay, so you when you're in Cobra, it's bent arms with your thighs touching the ground. When you're in upward dog, it's straight arms with your thighs up off the ground. The pushing up part, the actual holding the pose is not noticeably more challenging, but the pushing up part is more challenging to go to upward facing dog. So if you go to upward facing dog from here, because you're straightening your arms out and bringing your legs up off the ground, that push up part is much harder than doing it with Cobra. If you think about it, when you're in Cobra, everything from here down is still touching the mat. When you're in upward facing dog, everything from here down to your ankles is up off the ground. So there's a lot more weight for you to push up. But see how you find that. It's up to you which you think. Yeah, depending on what your upper body strength is like. So we'll come to plank. So just take your feet back, but keep your chest over your hands so your arms are vertical. Yep. And then we're going to lower the chest down. Put your feet onto the insteps, but don't move them back or forward. Keep your elbows tucked in nice and tight if you can, and then push up. Bent arms if you're in Cobra, straight arms if you're in upward facing dog. And then put your knees down if you haven't. Take your weight back. Okay, just have a breather there. So, everybody all right? Is it wrists aching a bit? Yeah? Right, well just... Oh, sorry. If you just come to seated and take your arms out in front and turn them so the backs of the hands are together. And then bring your fingers in. Turn your palms out. And push out. And curl your arms in. Backs of the hands together. And push out. So just bring them in. So just loosening your wrists back up. Because we've been resting on those for a while. And then relax them. Does that feel a bit better? Okay. Because we're going to go, we're going to be on the hands again briefly for this bit. This is what I've asked you to bring your socks for. Right? We're going to look at the step up from a downward facing dog to a high lunge. So this movement from downward facing dog, where you bring your foot up to the front of the mat to step up to a high lunge. So just that step up is what we're going to look at. So all we're going to do is we're going to look at two things for enabling you to bring your leg up more effectively. The first thing is to arch your back as you start to move through. So sometimes in classes we'll do like from a downward facing dog, and then I'll say like keep your arch your back, come up onto your toes, and then come to plank. Yeah. So. And doing that, if you think about it, I'm going here now. If I try and bring my foot through there, there's not a lot of room there, is there? But if I go there's much more room to bring your foot through. So when you go from downward facing dog, we're going to arch the back and then bring your foot through. And what we're going to do it, bend your knee before you start to come through. That's the second thing. So when you go here, we're going to start to arch your back, come up onto your toes, and then bend your knee. And then like bring your foot through, bent, and you put your foot down. Yeah? So rather than swinging your leg through, I know it's easier said than done, but that's what I want you to try and think about doing. I want you to try and think about as you come from downward facing dog, arch your back, come up onto your toes, and then bend your knee and bring your bent knee through before you try and put your foot down. Don't do it as slowly as that. Yeah, we'll do it a bit quicker. All right, so back of your bend, arch your back, bend your knee, bring it through. All right. So push up to downward facing dog. So as you start to bring your chest forward, arch your back, come up onto your toes, bend your knee, put your foot through. Yeah. Yeah. So do it on whichever foot you did then, do it on the other foot now. So bring your chest through, arch your back, bend your knee, bring your foot through.
Does it matter if it's on the outside?
Right, ideally you want to put it inside your foot. Yeah? You don't want to take your foot out there, because what you're going to have to do then is put your hand out there and bring your foot back in. But if, as a sort of interim thing, you know, if it means you're building your strength up so you can get your leg up, then that's fine. But ideally you want to bring it up in between your arms. Okay? Come up onto your toes, bend your knee. Yep. But it'll come, won't it? It'll come in time. Right, so that's all the poses. That's all the poses that we've done. So now we're going to put them into the sequence. So what we're going to do is we'll go up to the front of the mat, so we're going to go forward fold, all the points that we've done in the forward fold. Step back, all the points that we've done in the high lunge. Step back, what we've done in downward facing dog. What we've done in plank and lower. And then back to Cobra. Then we're going to go downward facing dog. And step up. High lunge. In fact, we'll skip the second high lunge and we'll just come straight back up to forward fold. Okay? So what we'll do is we'll go through it nice and slowly. So we'll do it twice, because we'll go back on the left leg first, then on the right leg. And I'll do the prompts as we go through each pose. Okay? So we're up at the front of the mat. So remember, forward fold, we're going to stretch all the way down, take a breath, and then flex your thighs and relax. Now inhale, raise your arms up. Reach, and then fold forward, reach, 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 reach. Let your upper body become heavy, pulling your head down towards the ground. Take a breath in and hold the stretch, and then let it go. Flex the thighs, and then let them go. So we'll step back on the right foot. Long step back. Push your body up, and we've got thigh parallel to the ground, back leg straight, pushing through the heel. Raise your arms up. Push up to the ceiling with your fingers and raise your chest. And then lower your arms down to the mat. And step back to downward facing dog. Push the mat away from you. Tailbone up towards the ceiling. Clench your thighs. And bring your chest forward. Don't move your legs. So your arms are vertical. Hug your elbows into the sides of your body. And slowly lower down. Feet onto the insteps. And then either Cobra or upward facing dog. So arms bent in Cobra. Arms straight in upward facing dog. Thighs down in Cobra. Thighs up in upward facing dog. Back onto the balls of your feet. And up to downward facing dog. So as you bring your chest through, arch your back. Come up onto your toes. Bend your knee. Bring it through. And then step up to the front of the mat. Take an inhale, raise your arms up. And then we're going straight back on the other side now. So exhale, fold forward, reach, 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 reach. Let your upper body become heavy. Hold the stretch, take an inhale. And exhale. Flex the thighs. And release. Step back on the left this time. Nice deep step back. Bring your body up, keeping your thigh parallel to the ground. Straighten your left leg. Push through the heel. Raise your arms up, reach up to the ceiling. Stretch with your fingers. And lift your chest. And then lower your arms down. Step back with your right foot to downward facing dog. Push the mat away. Tailbone up to the ceiling. Flex your thighs. Bring your chest forward. Arms vertical. Engaging your core. Lower your chest down. Feet onto the insteps. Then push up, curling your chest up. Coming either to upward facing dog with your arms straight or Cobra with your arms bent. Then feet back to the balls of the feet and up to downward facing dog. So bring your chest forward, start to arch your back, come up onto your toes. Bend your knee and step your foot up. And step up to the front of the mat. Take an inhale, raise your arms up. And exhale, lower down. And relax.